All right, so today we are going to do a deep dive into something that might just completely change how you think about golf.
Yeah,
We're going to be looking at Ben Hogan, one of the all-time greats.
absolutely.
And people might think, oh, well, what can I learn from a legend like Ben Hogan?
Right.
But buckle up, because we're going to learn about his secret weapon.
Yeah,
This is his unique approach to aiming
that's right.
that helped him dominate the game.
It's not about hitting perfect shots, though.
Okay.
What's so fascinating about Hogan's approach
Yeah.
is that it hinges on something that most amateur golfers just try to ignore, and that is their misses.
Misses. You mean like those shots that make me want to just chuck my club in the water?
Exactly.
Hogan had a strategy for those.
He absolutely did, and the best part is,
Okay.
it's a strategy that anyone can learn and benefit from,
Really?
regardless of their skill level.
Okay. You have my attention.
Great.
So where do we even begin to unpack this?
Well, there's this famous Hogan quote: "Golf is a game of misses. He who misses best wins."
Okay.
Most golfers hear that and they think, well, duh, everybody misses.
Right.
But Hogan was onto something much deeper.
Okay, I'm all ears.
All right.
Help me understand what he really meant by that.
It all boils down to this. Hogan understood that misses are inevitable,
Right.
even for the best players in the world.
Yeah.
So instead of fighting against that reality,
Hmm.
he embraced it and built his entire strategy around it.
So he wasn't trying to hit the perfect shot every time.
No,
He was planning for where his shots would go if he didn't hit it perfectly.
that's exactly right.
Wow.
He was playing a different game altogether.
Okay.
A game of minimizing risk and maximizing his chances of success,
Hmm.
even when he wasn't playing his best.
So that's what separated him from the rest.
Absolutely.
Okay. I have to admit, this is a totally new way of looking at the game.
Hmm.
For me, I usually just focus on hitting it as close to the flag as possible.
Right.
And I don't really think about what happens if I miss.
And I think that's the trap that most amateur golfers fall into.
Yeah.
They get caught up in chasing the perfect shot and
Wow.
forget that golf is really about playing the percentages, managing your misses,
Okay.
and making the smartest decisions on the course.
So how did Hogan actually do this?
Yeah.
How did he go about planning for his misses?
Well,
Did he have some kind of secret formula?
we have some incredible insights from Scott Fawcett.
Okay.
He's a former pro golfer
Right.
and a brilliant mathematician who founded Decade Golf,
Okay.
which is a course management system that's used by tons of pros.
Wow.
And he's really done a deep dive into analyzing Hogan's approach using data and modern technology.
Okay.
And we'll be referencing a Golf Digest video where he lays it all out.
Sounds fascinating.
Yeah.
I'm ready to learn how to think like Ben Hogan out there.
All right.
Let's do it.
Let's start with Fawcett's visual representation
Okay.
of Hogan's strategy.
Okay.
It's called the ice cream cone of misses.
Oh.
Now imagine hitting 100 balls with each club in your bag. The spread of those shots would form a cone shape,
Yeah.
wide at the driver end,
Right.
because those shots travel farther
Yeah.
and they're more prone to dispersion,
Makes sense.
and narrower as you get to your wedges.
Sure.
Now, this cone represents your personal range of misses.
Okay.
It's where your shots are most likely to go, even when you don't hit them perfectly.
Okay. I'm picturing this ice cream cone, but how does that translate to aiming on the course?
That's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
Hogan didn't aim for where he wanted the ball to go. He aimed for where his cone of misses would land most safely.
Wait, so he was intentionally aiming away from the target?
Yes,
That sounds completely counterintuitive.
it does, but there's a brilliant logic behind it.
Okay.
Let's look at a specific example.
Right.
The iconic 18th hole at TPC Sawgrass.
Oh, that's a scary one. That narrow fairway, the water all along the left side.
Exactly.
I always get nervous just thinking about that tee shot.
Most golfers would just aim right down the middle of the fairway,
Right.
hoping to hit that perfect drive.
Yeah.
But if you overlay your miss cone on that hole, you'll see that a lot of your shots, even slightly off-center hits,
Yeah.
could end up in the water.
Yikes. That's a recipe for disaster.
It is.
So what would Hogan do differently?
Okay.
Aim further right away from the water.
Well, that's what most people would think.
Yeah.
But Hogan was even smarter than that.
Okay.
He'd actually aim his cone slightly left, even though it seems counterintuitive. Remember, his most likely miss was a fade to the right?
So he was aiming toward the danger zone. Isn't that even riskier?
Not when you factor in his miss tendencies.
Okay.
By aiming slightly left, he He was ensuring that even his worst miss, that fade to the right,
Yeah.
would still land safely in the fairway.
Okay, so starting to see how this works. So he was essentially shifting his ice cream cone to the left,
Yes,
putting the fat part of the cone in the fairway,
that's right.
and minimizing the risk of a disastrous miss.
Precisely.
Okay.
He was accepting a slightly worse miss to the right
Right.
in order to completely eliminate the possibility of a truly disastrous miss into the water.
Yeah.
It's about understanding your tendencies
Mm.
and strategically positioning your miss cone
All right.
to avoid the biggest hazards on the course.
This is mind-blowing.
It is pretty amazing.
It's like he was playing a different game altogether.
Yeah.
A game where misses were just as important as perfect shots.
Exactly.
Well,
And, it wasn't just about avoiding hazards. Hogan also used this strategy to his advantage on approach shots
Okay.
around the greens, and even when putting.
All on putting, too.
Yes?
How does the ice cream cone work on the greens?
It's all about understanding your most likely misdirection on the green.
Okay.
Let's say you tend to pull your putt slightly to the left.
Yeah.
Instead of aiming directly at the hole,
Right.
Hogan might aim slightly to the right, knowing that his natural miss would bring the ball back towards the center of the cup.
So he was using his misses to help him make more putts.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
It is.
It just goes to show that this ice cream cone strategy
Yeah.
isn't just about avoiding bad shots. It's about setting yourself up for better results.
Right.
Even on the greens.
Exactly.
I'm completely rethinking my entire approach to the game now, but before we get too far ahead of ourselves,
Okay.
I want to go back to something you mentioned earlier. You said that Hogan's strategy was about minimizing risk.
Right.
So how did he actually determine
Yeah.
what level of risk was acceptable
Right.
on a particular shot?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And it gets to the heart of what made Hogan such a brilliant strategist. He didn't just blindly apply this ice cream cone approach to every shot.
Right.
He carefully considered the risk-reward equation for each situation,
Okay.
taking into account factors like...
Oh, I imagine the course layout would be a big factor.
Yes,
Like those water hazards at TPC Sawgrass?
absolutely. The course layout is crucial,
Yeah.
but he also factored in things like the pin placement,
Right.
the wind conditions,
Okay.
and even his own confidence level with a particular club.
So he wasn't just blindly aiming for the safest spot every time.
Right.
He was making calculated decisions based on a whole range of factors.
Exactly. He was constantly evaluating the situation, weighing the potential risks and rewards,
Yeah.
and then making the smartest decision
Okay.
based on his understanding of his own game
Right.
and the challenges in front of him. That's what made him such a masterful strategist.
I'm starting to realize that this is more than just an aiming strategy.
Right?
It's a whole new way of thinking about the game.
You got it.
Wow.
And that's the beauty of Hogan's approach.
Yeah.
It's not just a set of rules to follow blindly.
Right.
It's a philosophy, a mindset that can elevate your entire game.
I'm so eager to learn more, but before we dive deeper into the specifics of how to apply this to our own games,
Right.
I think it's important to understand how Hogan himself
Yeah.
developed this level of mastery.
Right.
I mean, this didn't just happen overnight, right?
You're absolutely right. Hogan's legendary accuracy and course management skills were the result of years of relentless dedication and a unique approach to practice. He was famous for his grueling practice routines
Okay.
and his meticulous attention to detail.
I'm intrigued. Tell me more about this legendary Hogan practice routine.
All right.
Was he just hitting thousands of balls
Okay.
until he achieved perfection?
It wasn't just about quantity. It was about quality and intention.
Oh.
Hogan practiced with a purpose.
All right.
He wasn't just going through the motions. He was actively trying to understand his tendencies
Right.
and refine his ice cream cone
Okay.
so that he could control his misses with pinpoint accuracy.
Okay. Now I'm really curious. Let's dive into the specifics of Hogan's practice methods after a quick break.
Sounds good.
I want to learn how he turned himself into a mismanaging machine.
I like it.
Yeah.
It's fascinating that Hogan didn't have access to all the fancy technology we have today.
Right.
Launch monitors, shot trackers, swing analysis apps.
Yeah.
He had to really rely on his own keen observation and self-awareness to really dial in his game.
So no high-tech gadgets, just pure Hogan grit.
Yeah.
I like it. But how did he actually go about figuring out his ice cream cone without all that data?
He was a big believer in structured practice.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about just mindlessly hitting buckets of balls.
Right.
Hogan would meticulously track his shots,
Mm-hmm.
noting his tendencies and patterns,
Okay.
especially his misses.
So you're telling me he was essentially collecting data,
Yeah.
the old school way with a pen and paper.
Exactly. He even advised golfers to use stakes on the range to define their target and see where their misses landed relative to those markers. It was all about gathering data, even without fancy gadgets.
Okay, I'm already feeling a little guilty about my own practice routines.
Yeah.
But okay, that's Hogan, the golf legend. For us mere mortals in the 21st century,
Right.
are there any modern methods we could use
Oh, yeah.
to speed up this process of identifying our miss patterns?
Absolutely. Technology has definitely made it easier to collect this kind of data.
Yeah.
If you have access to a launch monitor,
Right.
those are amazing tools that give you precise measurements of your shot dispersion, a club head speed, launch angle, all sorts of valuable information.
Yeah, some ranges even have those cool systems that track your shots and show you a visual representation of your tendencies.
They do.
I've seen those systems at a few fancy ranges, and they're pretty impressive.
Yeah.
But what about the rest of us?
Right.
Who don't have access to those high-tech setups?
Right.
Any options for the average golfer?
Definitely. There are some really great apps out there that use your phone's GPS and camera to track your shots on the course. And you'd be surprised how much detailed data they can provide on your miss patterns over time.
So we've got options. We can go full Hogan with pen and paper.
Yep.
Embrace technology with launch monitors and apps.
Yeah.
Or maybe even a combination of both.
Exactly.
The point is, we have no excuses
Right.
for not understanding our own ice cream cones.
That's right. The key is to just start paying attention.
Okay.
Don't just focus on your good shots. Those are easy to remember.
Right.
Really analyze where you tend to miss. Are your misses mostly left or right?
Okay.
Do you tend to hit it fat or thin?
Right.
What clubs give you the most trouble?
Yeah.
That's the data that will help you build your personal ice cream cone map.
I love this idea of really dissecting my misses.
Yeah.
I've always kind of just shrugged them off
Right.
as part of the game.
Yeah.
But I never thought about strategically planning for them.
And that's where most golfers go wrong. They get so focused on chasing that perfect shot that they forget about the reality of misses.
Yeah.
Hogan understood that misses are part of the game for everyone, and he figured out how to make them work for him instead of against him.
So let's say we've done our homework.
Oh.
We've tracked our shots.
Yeah.
We've analyzed our misses.
Okay.
And we have a pretty good idea of what our ice cream cone looks like.
Right.
How do we actually put that knowledge into action on the course?
That's where the real fun begins.
Right.
It's about taking that understanding of your tendencies
Right.
and overlaying it on the course layout.
Right.
You have to start thinking like a strategist, analyzing each shot,
Okay.
and figuring out how to use your ice cream cone to your advantage.
All right. Strategist hat on.
Okay.
Give me an example. Let's go back to that daunting 18th hole at TPC Sawgrass.
Perfect example.
Right.
You got that narrow fairway water all down the left side.
Right.
And let's say for this example,
Okay.
you know, your miss with the driver is typically a block to the right.
Oh, you're speaking my language now.
All right.
The dreaded block to the right
Yeah.
is definitely my go-to miss off the tee.
So instead of aiming down the middle of the fairway,
Right.
where a block would send you into the water,
Yeah.
you might aim slightly left, even though it feels counterintuitive.
Wait a minute. You're saying I should aim towards the water.
Yeah,
That sounds even riskier.
I know, but hear me out.
Yeah.
You're not aiming at the water.
Okay.
You're aiming so that your most likely miss,
Right.
the block to the right,
Yeah.
will land safely in the fairway. You're essentially shifting your ice cream cone to the left,
Okay.
putting the fat part of the cone in the fairway,
Right.
and minimizing the risk of a disastrous miss.
Okay. Now that makes sense.
Right.
So I'm basically aiming for my miss to bring the ball back into play.
Exactly. You're not trying to eliminate misses altogether. That's impossible.
Right.
You're just trying to make them less costly and keep them in play.
This is like chess, but with golf clubs. You're thinking several moves ahead, anticipating your opponents.
Right.
I mean, the course's next move.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
And just like in chess, this strategy takes practice and planning.
Right.
You have to develop that strategic mindset
Mm.
and learn to see the course through the lens of your ice cream cone.
So it's not just about picking a target and swinging. It's about taking a moment to assess the situation.
Right.
visualize my ice cream cone,
Yeah,
and then make a strategic decision about where to aim
exact.
based on my missed tendencies.
Precisely.
Wow, this is adding a whole new dimension to my mental game.
It is.
Okay.
And trust me, it might feel a little strange at first,
Yeah.
aiming away from the pin,
Right.
maybe even aiming toward trouble sometimes.
Hmm.
But as you start seeing your scores improve,
Okay.
you'll become a believer.
This is so much more than just an aiming strategy.
Right.
It's like a whole new philosophy of golf.
And that's the beauty of Hogan's approach. It's not a gimmick or a quick fix.
Hmm.
It's a fundamental shift in how you approach the game.
All right. I'm sold, but I have to ask,
Okay.
is this ice cream cone strategy only applicable to tee shots and approach shots? Or can we use it in other areas of the game?
It's relevant for any shot
Okay.
where you're facing a risk-reward decision. Let's say you're just off the green,
Okay.
facing a tricky chip shot over a bunker to a tight pin.
Right.
You could go for the hero shot, trying to chip it close.
Oh, that's my usual move. Go big or go home.
Yeah.
But you're going to tell me that's not the Hogan approach, right?
Exactly. If you think about your ice cream cone, you might realize that a slight mishit could send the ball sailing over the green
Right.
or into the bunker,
Yeah.
leading to a double bogey or worse. A Hogan-esque approach
Okay.
might be to just chip to the fattest part of the green,
Okay.
even if it's farther from the pin.
So I'm prioritizing safety over glory,
Yeah.
playing for the most likely outcome, which is probably a two-putt bogey
Yeah.
instead of risking a big number.
Exactly. You're making the smart play, the Hogan play,
Okay.
by minimizing risk and giving yourself the best chance to make par.
I'm starting to see this Hogan strategy everywhere now.
Right.
It's like a secret code that unlocks a whole new level
Yeah.
of understanding about the game.
I know. It's pretty cool.
It is.
And the best part is, this strategy isn't just for low handicappers or aspiring pros.
Right.
It's beneficial for golfers of all skill levels.
So you're saying that even if I'm, not very good,
Exactly.
I can still benefit from this.
Absolutely.
Okay.
In fact, I would argue that it's even more beneficial for higher handicap golfers.
Really?
Yeah, because it can help them avoid those big blow-up holes
How?
that can just ruin a round.
Yeah, for sure.
By understanding their missed tendencies and managing their ice cream cones,
Okay.
they can start making smarter decisions and playing more consistent golf.
This has been an incredible deep dive.
It has.
We've gone from Ben Hogan's famous quote
Yeah.
to understanding the ice cream cone of misses.
Right.
Now we're seeing how it can be applied
Yeah.
to every aspect of the game.
I feel like I've unlocked a secret code to better golf.
Me too.
It really is. It's amazing how a simple concept like the ice cream cone
Yeah.
can have such a profound impact on our games.
And for you listening, here's the takeaway.
Right.
Next time you're on the course,
Okay.
facing a tough shot,
Yeah.
don't just think about where you want the ball to go.
Right.
Think about where it's most likely to go if
Ah.
you miss.
Right.
That's where you should be aiming.
I agree.
Embrace your misses, outsmart the course,
Yeah.
and play the game like Ben Hogan.
Wise words until next time. Happy golfing.
Okay, so we're back and ready to step onto the range with Hogan himself,
Yeah,
well, at least with his practice philosophy in mind.
that's right.
We've been talking about this revolutionary ice cream cone strategy
Right.
and how it can transform our games.
That-
But I'm ready to get practical.
All right.
How can the average golfer
Sure.
practice like Ben Hogan?
It all starts with ditching this idea that every shot on the range has to be perfect.
Okay.
Remember, we're embracing those misses.
Right.
They're our teachers.
Okay, so no more frustration when I shank one into the next county.
Exactly.
I can get on board with that, but what does a Hogan-approved practice session actually look like?
Structure is key instead of just randomly hitting balls.
Right.
Set up targets.
Okay.
You can even use alignment sticks to create a visual representation of a fairway or a green.
Okay.
It's about turning that empty range into a mini course,
Yeah.
a laboratory for understanding your ice cream cone.
Okay, I'm loving this visual. So it's like I'm building my own personal TPC sawgrass on the range,
Exactly.
water hazards and all.
That's right. And as you're hitting, pay close attention to where your misses go,
Okay.
especially with your driver and longer irons.
All right.
Are they consistently fading or drawing? Are they mostly high or low? Are certain clubs giving you more trouble than others?
Right.
That's the data you need to start mapping out your personal ice cream cone for
Okay.
each club in your bag.
This is starting to feel less like practice and more like a detective mission.
Yeah.
I'm gathering evidence,
Yeah.
analyzing clues,
Right.
building a profile of my own missed tendencies.
That's the spirit. And once you have a good understanding of your tendencies,
Right.
you can start experimenting with different aim points on the range. Try aiming down the left side.
Okay, so he was playing 4D chess while everyone else was stuck in checkers.
I like it.
But,
Yeah.
okay, let's say I've put in the work on the range.
Right.
I've cracked the code on my ice cream cone.
Okay.
How do I translate that knowledge to the actual course?
That's where the pre-shot routine becomes crucial.
Okay.
Before every shot.
Right.
Take a moment to visualize your ice cream cone overlaid on the hole in front of you.
Okay.
Think about the hazards,
Right.
the pin placement,
Yeah.
and most importantly, where your most likely miss would go.
Mm.
Then, based on all that information,
Okay.
adjust your aim point accordingly.
So it's not just about picking a target and swinging away.
Right.
I need to pause,
Yeah.
assess,
Right.
visualize my ice cream cone,
That's right.
and then make a strategic decision
Exactly.
about where to aim based on my missed tendencies.
That's it.
This is adding a whole new dimension to my mental game.
It is.
Okay.
And trust me, it might feel a little strange at first. Aiming away from the flag.
Right.
Maybe even aiming towards trouble sometimes. But when you see those shots landing safely in the fairway or on the green, you'll start to understand the brilliance of Hogan's approach.
I have to admit, this whole strategy is kind of blowing my mind.
It's pretty amazing.
It's so simple, yet so profound.
Right.
But are there ever times when it's okay to just ignore the ice cream cone and just go for the flag? You know, go for the glory shot.
That's a great question, and it comes down to risk management.
Okay.
There are certainly times when the reward outweighs the risk,
Mm.
and going for the flag is the right play.
Okay.
Maybe you need to make a birdie to win a match.
Right.
Or you have a short iron in your hand and you're feeling super confident.
Okay, so it's not a one-size-fits-all approach.
Right.
I need to use my judgment,
Exactly.
assess the situation, and decide when to play it safe and when to be aggressive.
That's right. Hogan wasn't afraid to take risks when necessary. But those risks were always calculated based on his understanding of his own game and the situation at hand.
He was a master of strategy on and off the course.
Absolutely.
But here's what I find so encouraging. This ice cream cone strategy isn't just for scratch golfers or aspiring pros.
Right.
It's something that anyone can learn and benefit from,
Absolutely.
regardless of skill level.
In fact, I would argue that it's even more beneficial for higher handicap golfers.
Okay.
Because it can help them avoid those big blow-up holes that can ruin a round.
Right.
By understanding their missed tendencies and managing their ice cream cones, they can start making smarter decisions and playing more consistent golf.
This has been an incredible deep dive.
It has been fun.
We've gone from Ben Hogan's "fuck us" quote to understanding the ice cream cone of misses.
Right.
And now we have a whole new perspective on practice and strategy.
Yeah.
I feel like I've unlocked a secret code to better golf.
I agree.
It really is amazing.
It's amazing how a simple concept like the ice cream cone can have such a profound impact on our games.
And for you listening, here's the takeaway.
Okay.
Next time you're on the course,
All right.
facing a tough shot,
Yeah.
don't just think about where you want the ball to go.
Right.
Think about where it's most likely to go if you miss.
Exactly.
That's where you should be aiming. Embrace your misses. Outsmart the course and play the game like Ben Hogan.
I love it. Great advice.
Thanks for joining me on this deep dive. It's been a pleasure.
My pleasure.